Okay, so now I'm going to show you a few more tricks of things that you can actually do for the background. So one easy thing that could easily spice up the image is to go back to this white layer on the bottom that we made in the beginning, and I'm going to double click and I'm going to move it over. You can actually select colors. So I'm just clicking on the face and on the shoulders, and you can select colors that are already in there. It's already in the landscape. You can get all sorts of different colors. Maybe I kind of like that lighter blue. I'm going to click OK. And that looks pretty nice. One of the things that's a little annoying is just kind of how there's like a white glow around her. It's all along the edge. It's from the original mask that we made, a little bit of the feather that we gave it. So sometimes doing a hard solid fill doesn't always look great unless you have perfect cutout, which we don't, but you can do that. So it's one trick. Another thing that might be cool is I'm going to place my landscape back in here. So I'm going to go to File, Place Linked. I'm going to place another copy of it. And I'm going to make it nice and big and stretch it. So it's the same one, it's just in the background now. That already looks pretty cool. You can kind of see all of that. You can move it. She's also kind of in the front, but the same thing's in the background. You can go up and go to the blending mode, go to multiply, go and lighten. That looks pretty cool. So now my landscape is blending in pretty well because there's both of them in there. Let's see what happens when I put it on screen. Yeah, that looks great. That's another option. Replacing your landscape back in behind the model and then playing with different blending modes to see what happens is always an option. Another thing you can do after you, let's see, put it back on normal, you can give it a bit of a blur. So if you go to your filter at the very top and then go to your blur, and if you go to Gaussian blur, and you can kind of blur it in the background, which makes it look pretty cool. Yep. And pull it all the way up, click OK. And that looks interesting. It's picking up the colors that's already in the double exposure image. Like I said, you can maybe lower the opacity. We've been doing that a lot. That looks cool. Now the blue color that's behind the landscape is coming through because the landscape's only at 62% opacity. So that's another really cool option for creating a cool background for your double exposure. And there's obviously other things we could do. Let's see if we can kind of click on this. Another thing you might want to do is you can play with painting back in some of the facial details. This is what it looks like without the top layer. That's what it looks like with it. So if you click on that original landscape, the one that's actually on her face, and let's say I want a little bit more of her face showing and less landscape, I could just go to my brush tool. I'm going to paint with a really low opacity. I'm going to zoom in. Maybe I don't want so much of the nose right here kind of showing through that. I'm just going to gently paint in certain areas, and I'm sort of deleting part of the landscape in some sections so that some of her facial features can kind of show up a little more. Let me zoom out. And so let me show you what it looks like on the mask. So right here where those gray areas are is where we painted away part of the mountains so that her face would shine through a little more detail. That's another thing you can do, obviously, with all that. Something else you can do with the double exposure in areas that you might want to bring back. Just go back into the mask and play with painting stuff and deleting stuff. Some of you guys have already done that, I know, so this is kind of a reminder. All right, thanks.